Support for studio sessions on KNKX comes from OB Credit Union, the original credit union of the Olympia Brewery, bringing pub-style banking to South Sound neighborhoods. OB Credit Union, offering Rainier, Pabst, Lone Star, and Olympia beer credit cards. More at obee.com/cards. Hello, I'm Abe Beeson here at a vast recording with an exclusive KNKX studio session performance with pianist Billy Childs and his quartet. Childs is a multiple award-winning pianist and composer, a bit of a prodigy as a kid in Los Angeles, heading off to study at USC when he was 16. Childs' career took off with Freddie Hubbard's band, and he also worked with jazz giants Joe Henderson and J.J. Johnson before he started to focus on leading his own groups. His successful records in the 80s and 90s paralleled composing work for symphony orchestras, as well as smaller groups like the Kronos Quartet and American Brass Quartet. Billy Childs' new quartet release is called The Winds of Change, featuring a remarkable band with trumpeter Ambrose Akinmusire, Scott Colley and Brian Blade at the bass and drums, and performing on this tour, the equally impressive lineup includes trumpeter Sean Jones with Hans Glawishnig and Christian Euman at the bass and drums. You'll hear my conversation with Billy Childs after we hear three great tunes, beginning with Master of the Game. Billy Childs, wonderful new quartet record, Winds of Change, with inspirations kind of across the board.
Yeah.
One of them being your hometown of Los Angeles. And speaking of change, there's been a lot of change in L.A. over your lifetime.
Oh yeah, sure. I've lived in LA my whole life, except for a couple of times when I was bicoastal in the early '90s. I had a place in Brooklyn, but I've been in Los Angeles, based in Los Angeles my whole life, and so yes, it's changed. I remember it from the '60s. Actually, I was born in '57, and I kind of vaguely remember the '50s. So that's going back there.
And Los Angeles has always been more of a movie town than a music town. And I know jazz clubs have been up and down. Do you have a chance to play in your hometown often?
Oh,
and
yeah,
where?
yeah. But L.A., that's a misnomer. That's a misconception that L.A. is not a music town or less of a music town than a movie town. I mean, movies, of course, were big to the development of the city, obviously. But the music... the scene has thrived. It's ebbed and flowed, but it's still it's majorly, it's major. And so there have been extraordinary musicians that I've gotten the opportunity, been blessed to play with, who are not only Los Angeles based, but traveling to Los Angeles from other cities. And so, the movie scene, obviously, the musicians that play there, but also the classical music scene, and the jazz scene. The jazz scene took a major hit though when the Blue Whale closed recently. But we have a great club like Sam First and Vibrato Catalina's jazz club. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And of course, movies, the movie industry has always gone hand in hand with music. Not many movies don't use music. And that's another one of the inspirations on your album. Kind of bi-coastal film noir themes, A Taxi Driver in Chinatown.
Yes.
And your kind of mood into that and love is right down the middle of those.
Yeah. Well, those are two... movies, they kind of share something in the fact that they have great themes that are memorable themes, that are classic themes, written by two great composers. In the case of Chinatown, it's Jerry Goldsmith. In the case of Taxi Driver, it's Bernard Herrmann. And they're both like jazz-based. Chinatown has more of like that. It's more in line with the film noir tradition, Right. It's the story involves a detective who getting pulled into a web of deceit and just dysfunction and all of that stuff. The score is symphonic and really like poignant, And in Taxi Driver, it's kind of Robert De Niro plays a kind of a demented character that's going down into the depths of his own psychosis, basically, and the score kind of reflects that, but it's still jazz based, and it's very beautiful. And both films are mythical, like looks at the various cities, New York in the case of Taxi Driver, and Los Angeles in the case of Chinatown.
And other inspirations on the record, two of your favorite pianists, Chick Corea and Kenny Barron, two of mine too. And I wonder if you could talk about both of those players.
Yeah, well, Chick Corea was not only one of my main inspirations, like kind of the pillar of what makes me the musician that I am, along with others like Herbie Hancock. Lyle Mays, I think, is a big influence. Yeah. But Chick Corea was not only that, but also a dear, close friend of mine, who kind of mentored me, too, and was very encouraging. And we'd talk, and he'd tell me, it was just, I felt like part of a lineage, when he would tell me stories about Miles, about Stan Getz, about Return to Forever, about writing symphonic music. And so when he passed, it was really kind of like a shock. So I wanted to, do one of his songs that was more of a direct and personal and intimate song. In many ways, it reminds me of Horace Silver's piece, in that it's just a direct beautiful melody that's unfiltered by anything fancy. It's just goes right to the heart of things, and amidst all of the great complex stuff that he wrote. And then the Black Angel, Kenny Barron, that was one of the first jazz songs that I heard that I really related to. I was like, wow, this is great. And it was on the Freddie Hubbard album, The Black Angel. And it was by Kenny Barron. Kenny Barron's playing is so spectacular on that. And I didn't know Kenny as well as, I don't know Kenny as well as I knew Chick, but I know Kenny and we're very friendly to each other. And he's one of the giants living today.
Yeah, he's kind of one of the softer spoken giants. He doesn't make draw a lot of attention to himself, but a mark of quality in jazz.
Yeah, very high mark.
And another influence from a similar time, and I think in tying together with the Freddie Hubbard group with Kenny Barron is Kenny Wheeler,
right.
The New High record from the mid-'70s, another inspiration for you.
Yeah, that was, that to me is a desert island album, like I have a few Contours by Sam Rivers, The Prisoner, and Imwandishi by Herbie Hancock, and the Mathis Dermoller as played by Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Philharmonic. But yeah, definitely New High is right there. The Leprechaun by Chick Corea too. Yeah, the New High is right there, and what I love about it is the conversational aspect of it, and it was the only time that this group ever recorded together in a studio. It was like Keith Jarrett, I think it might have been Keith Jarrett's last sideman date. Keith Jarrett, Jack DeJohnette, Dave Holland, and Kenny Wheeler, and the songs are so beautiful and so. They're so appealing, yet so underneath there's this complexity and this spirituality that I think is great. I've never heard Keith Jarrett play better either. It was just, and there's, I shouldn't say that because everything Keith Jarrett did is the work of a genius.
Yeah, you might regret that.
yeah, like the work of Bach or Glenn Gould or whatever. He's, on another level. But this is some of my favorite Keith Jarrett is on New High.
Well, I certainly hear the complexity and the kind of spirituality in Winds of Change. I find that it's certainly through that.
Yeah, I forgot to relate it to the Winds of Change. And basically, yes, I wanted to capture that. And I figured that I could do that with these great... I could have done it with the group that I'm touring with now as well, Christian Euman, Sean Jones, and Hans Glawishnig. But we ended up doing it with Brian Blade, Scott Colley, and Ambrose Akinmusire. And it was just such a beautiful exchange of ideas on that session, and these are... we were four people who were in conversation with each other, and I couldn't think of anybody better to do it with.
Yeah, you really got an opportunity to explore two different quartets through the same music with this new, it's a touring band too.
Yeah.
Are there major differences between the two? Do you feel like the touring band is trying to keep up with the album, or?
No. They're not trying to keep up with anything. They are the standard. But everybody, just as every individual is different, so are these two quartets, they have different, places, everybody's influenced by different things. And so, but the combination, the level is still the same. It's just, it goes into a different, it's like an alternate reality of the, of what we did on the album. It's equally beautiful, but an alternate universe.
You have been really at the top of your game for a long time now in the world of jazz and classical music and beyond. It sounds to me like you're in your prime, and I wonder if you've got things on your to-do list still that you haven't gotten done yet.
Oh man, there's a lot of music that I have composed that I would love to hear recorded in a professional format. Like there's a cantata that I wrote based off of poems from children in the terrorism concentration camp called The Voices of Angels. There's a violin concerto I just composed for Rachel Barton Pine, great violinist, that we played as a consortium. And it's going to be performed, by the way, with the Los Angeles Philharmonic in the Hollywood Bowl this summer. And also there is a saxophone concerto that I just composed for a great saxophonist, Stephen Banks. There's I have a group called the Jazz Chamber Ensemble, and I have like a jazz chamber and poetry concept. The Jazz Chamber Ensemble consists of piano, bass, drums, acoustic guitar, harp, saxophone, and string quartet. And I want to do a recording of this jazz chamber and poetry thing that I've been working on for quite some time. So there's a lot. And that's not even half of it.
One of the most exciting musicians we have to enjoy on this planet right now, Billy Childs. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for a great new record.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Billy Childs and his band, Sean Jones, trumpet, Hans Glawishnig, bass, Christian Euman at the drums. Thanks to Avast Recording Studios in North Seattle and Stuart Hallerman and the gang, audio engineer Brian Moynihan, video producer Parker Blome, assisted by Paige Dahlke. Thanks to promotions director Brenda Goldstein-Young and all of you listening in. Find our studio session archives at knkx.org with more content on our YouTube channel. I'm Abe Beeson. Thanks for listening.